Beth says it's time to start talking, so talking we will on Facebook Live, Red Zone Extra from Big O Tires in Shawnee. I usually look at the door to see the address. They don't have one here. It's 5810 or 15810 West 67th Street in Shawnee. We're here to talk Chiefs. We're here to answer your questions, so send them to us on facebook.com/Red Zone Extra. Let me introduce you to the crew. To my left is Vahe Gregorian. Vahe, how you doing?
Good, Blair.
Down at the end, we got Sam Mellinger. Oh, no, we got Sam Mellinger here. And down at the end, we have Sam McDowell.
You sound alike.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to confuse you guys. It's all the long sleeves everybody's wearing today. It totally threw me off. How good does it feel out there?
Best day of the year.
I prefer summer. I prefer summer.
Who hurt you?
I just like the heat.
Man, all right. So interesting. So Sam Mellinger came prepared with his coffee, with his water, and with his smoothie that's out of the picture. I guess they're all out of the picture, but
Hopefully.
you're ready. You brought breakfast.
I'm here.
But not enough for everyone. I'm a little disappointed.
Nope.
Maybe next time.
Team of one right now.
Hey, let's talk Chiefs. And, who's not here is Herbie Teope. Herbie is...
Quit already.
already skipping out on Facebook Lives. Well done, Herbie. Herbie is moving. He's in the process of relocating from, he did that like 2 weeks ago, but he's still moving. It takes a long time to move, I guess. So, Herbie, we miss you. But we are going to start with something that you said on Sunday at our post-game Facebook Live. So the game's over. We're talking Chiefs-Lions, and we were, before you got there, Vahe, Sam and I, and the three of us were sort of marveling at the win, right? Because they ended up winning that game without Mahomes throwing a touchdown pass. They did it with turnovers galore, losing 3 fumbles in the third quarter. And then you and I were just kind of, wow, it was sort of another great win for the Chiefs. Then we get to Herbie, and Herbie's first reaction was, rushing defense stinks. He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
He's not wrong. So my question is this a problem when we look at the Chiefs at 4-0 in a division that I think they're going to end up running away with? Is this the type of thing that now we need to start evaluating the Chiefs' strengths and weaknesses based on January and not so much, October, November, December?
Yeah, based on the Patriots in a lot of ways, right? Like that's the game that I think a lot of us expect. And look, I think two things, fully. I think one, if you're going to stink at something, rush defense is a pretty good thing to stink at because I don't think it matters as much, in today's football, especially when you have an offense that's going to have you playing from ahead a lot. That force. That's a reason. I don't know if we talk about this enough, but that's a reason that they led the league in sacks last year because teams were just dropping back and you could, pin your ear back, as the cliche goes. But the other thing is it's a huge, it is a potentially fatal flaw.
Yes.
Against a team like the Patriots that
and
will
has
attack one weakness. I mean, that first drive in the AFC Championship game last year could be all drives. You just run it, keep the ball away from the freak show quarterback. And so, I mean, it's a problem, but no team is perfect, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And they do need to get better at it, though.
I thought about that as well, the AFC title game when the Chiefs won the toss, Patriots took the ball and just drove it down the Chiefs. I also thought about that in the opening drive of the second half of the Ravens game when Baltimore, just a couple weeks ago, when Baltimore got the second half kickoff and took it right down the field, and Chiefs were powerless to stop it. Is this a potential fatal flaw?
Well, one of the things that comes to mind for me is a little bit of the recent past where, of course, it's pre-Mahomes, so it's a little different, but that's been their Achilles heel in a couple playoff games.
Titans.
And Steelers in a way, too, right? I mean, the Steelers were able to just keep running. And they only got 6 field goals, but they got 6 field goals. Yep. So I think my concern would be it might be the kind of thing that could get them beaten in a round before the AFC Championship game if it's not shored up. And obviously, if you can run on the Chiefs, you want to because you want to milk clock and keep the quarterback off the field. So it's funny because they have been playing from ahead a lot, but 2 of these games they've been down 10-0 now, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. So it lurks in your mind as a concern.
Detroit was the first time they've been from behind, that they haven't been ahead by a bunch
All
in the
game
fourth quarter.
or in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Yeah.
3-score lead at least in the fourth quarter, or at least in some point in the second half, maybe the fourth quarter.
I think so.
Trying to think. I think they were up 17, I believe, to start the fourth quarter.
For sure.
Oakland for sure. And I think Baltimore. So yeah, so it made it somewhat of a different game. But listen, the Chiefs overhauled their defense. This was not supposed to. I don't know if maybe it was too much to expect everything to be fixed from last year's 31st ranked defense. But to get a new coordinator, overhaul the staff. Was it 7 starters in the Jacksonville game who didn't start the AFC title game a year ago? This was. I wasn't expecting, the Chiefs to have I think they're 31st in rush defense right now. Is there time to get this fixed, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, they brought in the personnel kind of to fix this problem with what the Patriots did to them last year. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu is a guy that's supposed to be better against the run than anybody they had at that position last year. One of the reasons you went from Dee Ford to Frank Clark is because Clark is a more well-rounded guy that can stop the run. It isn't just a one-trick pony that can rush the passer. We haven't really seen him do a whole lot of either yet this year. But to me, it's not that great of a concern yet. It is because of, like Sam said, that's probably what the Patriots' formula is going to be in January, and I think we all think that game's going to happen. But through 4 games, I just think there's enough time to sort of correct that. I think they have better personnel than they did last year, to where last year you probably said, what's the solution? I think this year maybe you have a little bit more clear of a picture there.
Well, how about drilling down a little bit more on Frank Clark? His numbers are, I think I looked this up. Defensive statistics, he's 13th on the team in tackles. He has 9 tackles. He's not playing any less than anybody else in the rotation, so it's not a playing time issue, but the production hasn't been where we expected it to be, and it's not there for a guy who's got a guaranteed contract of $62 million.
Yeah, I think he tweeted out after the game that he doesn't get paid for tackles; he gets paid for sacks, which he's right. But he's only got 1 sack, and he's getting paid $63 million. So right now he's not getting paid for, or he's getting paid for not much of anything. He just, we asked Andy Reid about it again yesterday, and he said, I think he's been getting double teamed, and we watched the film, and yeah, he is getting double teamed a lot. But on the situations where he's been one-on-one, he's not creating a whole lot of havoc in those situations. So I realize that he's getting less pitches, so to speak, than maybe another guy on the opposite side of the line. He's still not doing enough with those pitches, though.
Is it overstated too how much he's getting double teamed? I haven't broken that down specifically, but I believe I read that it's maybe a fourth of the time or a third of the time. It's not like every time.
Yeah. Thanks for reading. So last week I did kind of a breakdown. I wish I could remember the exact numbers. I want to say he had 35 drop back snaps, and he probably got double teamed on about a quarter of those, but he gets chipped on other plays. There's rollouts to the opposite way. It was sort of weird. The first play of last week's game against the Ravens, they rolled out the opposite way, and they still double teamed him, and he's 20 yards away from Lamar Jackson at this point. They still got a double team going. So there's always attention on him. But like I said, there's other times where he's still one-on-one, where I feel like he's got to do more than quarterbacks are always going to be trying to get rid of the ball quickly against Chris Jones and Frank Clark. So that's always going to be a thing. But by week 4, you've got to know that that's going to happen, and you've got to sort of make some adjustments.
I think it's definitely going to be a thing on Sunday when the Chiefs play the Colts and Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. I do think we'll see something of a Raiders, approach to attacking the Chiefs' defense. Although Marlon Mack is having a heck of a year and top 5 in rushing.
Missed practice yesterday though, so it's interesting to see whether or not he'll
One
play.
of like 10 guys on
a lot of
the
guys
injury
for the
report.
Colts.
Yeah, it was a pretty long. Their safeties are down too, I think.
Yeah.
T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
Anything to do with their turf, you think?
They did play at home last week.
Concrete turf. Yeah.
But one more thing I think that Sam could add on Frank Clark, because I think you studied this quite a bit, is he did a lot of stunts in Seattle, and I haven't seen him do a lot of that yet this year here in Kansas City.
Yeah, when I think of, maybe you guys are sick of me saying this, but like the defense will look different in a couple months as they sort of, the scheme gets comfortable with the players get comfortable with the scheme. And that is, you watch those highlights from Seattle, and I mean, it's a horror film for quarterbacks, but a lot of those are on stunts, and he's good on both. He's on both ends of the alley-oop. You know, he can be the guy tossing it and the guy dunking it. And they really probably, like, I felt like they did a lot of it. Baltimore, they did a little bit more. No, not Baltimore, Oakland. They did a little bit more of it.
I saw twice in Baltimore where I felt like he came inside for the purpose of trying to get somebody else open on the outside, but not a ton of it.
And that's a valuable move. I mean, it's an assist and it doesn't go in the box score or whatever, but that's a place where he can affect the quarterback. And they really, I don't know if Spagnuolo doesn't think that the other guys on the line are equipped to do it, like the personnel, or if it's just something slowly, okay, it's only week 4, now week 5, you know, maybe by 8, 9, 10, we'll see more of it.
Well, I wonder in your thought about the evolution of the defense that also applies to the linebackers too. With Anthony Hitchens was a supposedly run-stopping machine in Dallas.
Yeah, they brought in Xavier Williams for the same thing.
Right.
I know he made a big play on the fumble, but 2 face mask penalties just being behind the play, trying to grab a guy that was really in his lane.
They missed a third too.
Yeah,
they could have got him on a face mask.
Well, interestingly enough, the back end of the defense seems to have played better through 4 games. The secondary, and there were changes there. And of course, Bashard Breeland had not only the play of the game, but I think will end up being the defensive player of the season. Chiefs don't win that game unless he's alertly picks up the fumble on the Xavier Williams hit and takes it the other way. But that unit's about to change a little bit with the addition of Mo Claiborne, who is expected to join the team and has joined the team, rejoined the team after his 4-game suspension. Is this a case where they're going to just ease him in, do you think?
I think so. I all indications are that. I don't think there's any great incentive to them sort of playing a shell game with that. I think they're just going to have to see how it fits. I don't really have a feel for how fast we'll see a lot of him.
Maybe we'll know more today when we talk to Steve Spagnuolo and assistant coaches. But can we agree that the snaps that he will end up getting belong to currently Charvarius Ward? Yeah,
I mean that's how it seems, right? Like Charvarius is clearly the third in that group.
Yeah.
But Bashard Breeland's been playing really, really well.
I think so too.
His numbers, if you look at like passes he's been targeted on, they're not that good. But I think that's a little bit fuzzy. When you watch it, he's at the line of scrimmage. He's bumping his receiver. He's fighting for the ball. He's physical. He might have the 2 best plays.
The interception at Oakland.
Yeah, on the end zone fade route, and I mean, there's been others, but I mean, he's been clearly, I think they're number 1. And then Kendall Fuller's had some good moments. He's had some bad too, and then Charvarius Ward is third. Yeah, they just need depth because think about it. If they didn't have Claiborne, and one of those 3 guys gets hurt, that's a huge problem.
Those 3 guys played however many snaps, defensive snaps, the Chiefs had. It was Fuller, Ward, and Breeland. Thank you. Played all 68, 73, whatever it was. They were the ones with 100% of the 3 players with 100% of the defensive snaps. I don't even know who would come in for those guys. Fenton,
be a big drop.
Yeah,
I think maybe Tyrann Mathieu might be playing a lot of corner, and that's Juan Thornhill. I mean, I think that might be the path you go down.
Yeah, but again, I just don't think that's the issue on the defensive side. It's not. It's front 7, not back. The back.
The one problem with coverage, we've talked about this, but the biggest critique I think you can make is, especially with Fuller and especially Ward, they're in position. They don't turn and find the ball and make a play on the ball. Their coverage is good.
That's the one man. He's there. He seems to be in position, but he just doesn't turn.
One question, by the way, you guys may have addressed it on the Facebook Live before I arrived the other night. They were so intently looking at whether, I can't remember who the receiver was on the overturned touchdown, whether his feet were Galladay. Yeah. But was enough of a question asked about whether that was interference on Fuller? I thought it was. For sure.
Could have been.
It
was callable.
Callable, yeah. But it's funny. I almost feel like the Chiefs benefited from such scrutiny on was he in? It's like, well, we didn't notice that the guy was interfering with him.
Well,
quite a break.
The bigger issue, I think, from a Lions perspective, after the game, was on the final the Hail Mary at the end that somebody got plowed. I forgot. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was Hitchens running into somebody.
Yeah, before the ball
I don't
arrived.
remember who it was. Yeah,
I did hear some complaining about that.
To me, though, if they start reviewing that, I mean, I already hate the pass interference challenge, but if they start going down that road of interviewing Hail Marys, I mean, you're really opening up a can of worms I don't think you want to get into.
Right, right. All right. So the other, maybe the other side of the ball from Detroit, and looking forward, Mahomes not only held without a touchdown pass, and Sam McDowell, I know that you're pursuing a story on, along the lines of have teams, maybe found a little blueprint for defending the Chiefs the way the Lions did. Press coverage, single high. They only rushed 3 a lot of that game, which was interesting. Andy Reid was asked about this on, I think, on a teleconference on Monday, and he just sort of laughed it off and said, "Hey, we scored 34 points on the road against a decent team that's coached by a defensive mastermind sort of guy." But is it a concern? Did Detroit show opponents how to defend the Mahomes and the Chiefs?
I think it's a little bit of a concern when they don't have Tyreek Hill, and this is kind of what I got into in today's story. But Tyreek Hill is a guy that can beat that coverage better than almost anybody in the league. I mean, you try and get a cornerback to match up one-on-one and have to run with him stride for stride, it's just not going to happen. So playing that single safety when Tyreek Hill's on the field, you've got to shadow his side, and all of a sudden everything opens up on the other side of the field. Yeah, Mahomes went 0 for 6 on targets over 20 yards, never had not completed a pass in a regular season game. The reason you have to say regular season game is because the interesting thing is that happened to him in the playoff game last year against the Colts. So you would think the Colts, and they played a lot of that sort of coverage as well, that they're going to come in here to Arrowhead on Sunday night and play something pretty similarly. So we don't know yet. Tyreek was limited yesterday, but he did come back to practice. We're not sure yet what his status will be, but I think this week would be a great week to have him back for that reason.
There's at least 2 additional points on that too. Is the Patriots in the first halves last year did a lot of doubling Tyreek and making somebody else beat you. Matt Patricia kind of had that taken care of for him on Sunday, right? Like didn't even have to worry about him. So it's a step ahead. But the other part of that too, Tyreek or no, and he does change that defense completely. Like you just probably can't do that as much. But Tyreek or not, there's a lot of plays where you're only rushing 3, so Mahomes has some time, and the receivers are just they run their route and then they just kind of stood there. And that's one thing that I think those guys have been terrific at. The last with Patrick is they keep moving, keep moving. And I don't know why. They just seemed there was a lot of plays where they're just dead. There
were a couple of really specific plays. I remember you saying it during the game.
Yeah,
and it was like, why? Usually the whole thing here is extend. Yeah. And I think it reflects a little bit of still a little clogged up with Hardman. I mean, I think there's
I think so too.
There's something not quite clicking for those two. And Andy kind of blew that off yesterday too with they had a couple nice plays too. Yeah, but there were a couple balls, and I think in each case it really has been, sorry to pin the tail on him, but it's been on McCole, I think, on those plays. There was a ball or two Patrick overthrew. I think there was one to DeMarcus that I don't think had anything to do with the pattern being off. It was just a bad throw. Yep. But I feel like every time if you look back at the McCole miscommunications, it's one guy. It seems to me.
Understandable for a player in his 4 NFL games under his belt in a complicated offense.
And also in his 3rd year of playing that position.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And a different, it's just this extension of the plays has got to be a new thing for him as well. I mean, he didn't come from a real mobile quarterback throwing to him at Georgia.
No.
Yeah. But that is the one other thing, if Mahomes was banged up on Sunday, because it looks like his ankle is better, Andy Reid said he told him at halftime, because of this man coverage, guys are chasing receivers, so things are going to open up for you to be able to make a play with your feet. And he did that more on Sunday than we've seen him in the first 3 games. And so ankle-wise to hold up, I think that's a big key for him. Teams are going to play that defense against him.
Yeah. Well, a couple of points off of that, Sam, is so we found out yesterday what Mahomes what he was looking at when he turned around on the keeper in the first. I think it was on the if not the first series, it was in the first quarter. Mahomes decides to keep it and run. He turns back and looks at the official, and he tells us yesterday that he just wanted to know if throw a flag, because if he threw a flag, he wasn't gonna try to get 30. He was gonna get 10 and then
just get the first down.
Just get the first down and
make
get
him
out.
Accept the penalty, basically.
Right. But more importantly, the play he made in the fourth quarter on 4th and 8, the 15, however long the run was, but got the first down. That occurred because the Lions rushed 3. They were in man coverage. When you're in man coverage, your back is to the play, and the middle of the field just wide open for Mahomes, and he was able to make one of the 2 most clutch plays of his career, right? I mean,
yeah, and the other thing that goes on that is a play that Sam highlighted after Sunday's game, which is where a linebacker just leaves Travis Kelce wide open because it's so late in the route. He just assumes, all right, he's had enough time. Let me go check. And I think the reason he did that was because of Mahomes was scrambling earlier in the 100%. Game, and now he thought, I've got to go get him because he's going to do this again. And the one guy that I think was the exception, because I completely agree with you that the receivers weren't extending their routes a lot on Sunday, but I think the guy that was the exception was Kelce was still doing that.
Yeah. And I agree.
Tells a lot just about, I think, the same page that they're constantly on.
Which is why Kelce ended up the leading receiver for the first time in a game this year. First game was the Watkins game, then
he's had some tough numbers to beat, though.
Yeah, for sure. But next game was DeMarcus Robinson, and then finally for a game, Kelce leads him in receiving. The guy had 103 receptions last year.
Yeah, he's like 4th in the league, something like that.
Right.
It's so crazy.
Did the official actually tell Patrick, "You're good, go ahead and run" on that play? It was funny. It was almost like looking for like approval. Like, okay,
right. Maybe a fist bump or something.
He did another thing too that you don't see very often. Like that, you don't see very often. And then there's another play. Do you remember? And he got the call. He got hit, and I think it was like helmet to helmet. And before his butt hit the turf, he was like,
it was. Yeah. And I'm sure that he had just gotten hit. He's not even down. And
making the call before he landed. You don't see that.
What was his other moment? With the defensive lineman?
Trying to strip the defensive lineman, which I asked him, Andy about, and they just shrug it off like nothing.
It was after the Darrell Williams fumble.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting that Mahomes sort of took the blame on that play. Because I thought he had fully completed that handoff, but maybe he thought he gave it to Williams after Williams' momentum was too far forward, and suddenly he's still trying to collect the ball. But he took a little bit of the blame for that play.
It's kind of fascinating how he'll offer that. And we've talked about this before, but he will really break down how a play broke down. Maybe 31-year-old Pat Mahomes won't do that, but 24-year-old Pat Mahomes, I really enjoy that part of talking to him. Yeah,
stay young.
Yeah, forever young, please.
Okay, so not that it's important at all, but that 4th and 8 run was, kept alive. They don't win the game if he doesn't make that. Just like against the Ravens last year, if he doesn't make the long pass to Tyreek Hill on 4th and 9. They don't have a chance to win that game. What was the more clutch play?
Well, I between those two.
Yeah, between those two. I mean, because listen, he has a collection of clutch plays.
Yeah.
And I don't remember plays like that being made pre-Patrick Mahomes.
Well, I'll just say this. I mean,
by anyone, not just the most, the recent.
No, for 5 decades.
Didn't anybody accustomed to watching the Chiefs with Mahomes sort of feel like it's pretty good chance this is going to work out on that drive somehow? And
no, 4th and 8, the suspense was, how is it going to work?
You're right. I mean, I felt like that. I mean, I guess the odds are against you.
Right.
But the play that will, between the two, I mean, the one that was more sort of spectacular that I'll remember more is the 4th and 9 last year.
The Ravens.
But
they were down 7. And they were going to tie the game, but they were down 4. They only needed a field goal here, right?
In Detroit. Yep.
Yeah. So that. But now, like I said, now it's a good point. Your expectation going into that play is that they're going to convert it. How the hell they get to 4th down? Why did they convert on 3rd down? What's going on here?
You could potentially make an argument that the more intellectual play was the one we saw against Detroit, because I think that's in his process of consideration before the play that he thinks that's going to be open. The Ravens is just pure instinct. I've got to make something happen here. And the way that when you rewatch the 4th down against the Lions, I would be surprised if he wasn't thinking that before the play, based on what he saw coverage-wise, that this could be open.
I like that distinction. It's an interesting, different way to look at it, each of those plays.
So we talked earlier about how we think of the Chiefs in terms of how they would match up with the Patriots, right? Yeah. And that's based on they're the only two 4-0 teams left in the AFC, and they seem to be on a collision course. But the way the season, the schedule has worked out, Chiefs have not much more, but a more difficult path, I think, than the Patriots. The Patriots, you know how the schedule works in the NFL, the division, the AFC West teams, including the Chiefs, this year are playing the AFC South teams and the NFC North teams. And so that's Vikings, Bears, Packers from the NFC, Lions, and it's Texans, Jaguars, Titans from the Colts. Now the Patriots are playing the NFC North team, Steelers, Bengals, Browns, and AFC North, right? And from the other side, they're playing who are the Redskins,
NFC
right? Thank
East.
you, Jack's got it. Yeah, NFC East. Anyway, it just works out. It's just luck of the draw, basically. It's the rotation. Yeah. But the Patriots. The reason I bring this up is the Chiefs have to go to New England. That's going to be the toughest remaining game for both teams, and that game will decide where the AFC Championship game is going to be. So 2 trips to New England potentially for the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Patriots also get to play 6 games against the AFC East.
Yeah. Yes,
which is an advantage. Right. But you're right, like Packers and the Chiefs get that at home at least, but it's not even close. I don't think. Like if you look at just game by game, the Patriots are basically 8-0 right now. They're playing the Redskins. I forgot after that, but it's just
Giants. I got it here. Redskins, Giants, Jets, Browns, at Ravens, which will be an interesting game. Yep. At Eagles. This is before the Chiefs. At Eagles, Cowboys, at Texans. A couple of
Cowboys, Texans.
A couple of tricky ones there, and then Chiefs at home. But the Chiefs, it's just every week I see a 2-2 or a team that the Chiefs are playing 2-2 after 4 games. And I see a few, 1-3s and 0-4s in front of the Patriots.
The teams that the Chiefs have played are 8-3-1 when not playing the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's a good stat. A couple of little other stat things about the game this weekend. Just to keep an eye on. The Colts have the 4th best red zone offense in terms of touchdowns scored in the NFL. The Chiefs are 20th in touchdowns in the red zone this year, which is a little surprising. Is that? I'm trying to think of touchdown failures in the red zone. Against Oakland, all the touchdowns came from midfield, about midfield or so.
That's the thing, yeah.
It's just not they're not there in the red zone a lot because they score from distance and quickly. So it's
shooting 3-pointers, not points in the paint.
Right. That's right. That's right. Right. It's how you get your offense. It's how you're the number 1 offense.
That's the way he plays the game too.
But concerned that the red zone offense hasn't been, for touchdowns. I don't think so.
No, that's me. The red zone thing that sticks out to me is that they've been really good on defense in the red zone. I think it's 52% of their trips defensively, they've given up a touchdown, and that number was in the 70s last year. That's been a significant, the Bob Sutton thing was bend but don't break, but they bent and then broke, a lot. And this year they're actually, they're bowing up a little bit. And then like the one that sticks out from Detroit was they had that 3rd and goal, and the coverage was good in the back, and Chris Jones demanded attention, and then was it, I think it was Okafor that got the sack, was early in the game. Stuff like that is happening this year where it didn't last year.
It's one of these games with an old friend alert. Justin Houston coming to town. 8 seasons with the Chiefs and 8 mostly productive seasons with the Chiefs. He was hurt a lot, but when he was not hurt and when he was at the top of his game, he was among the best at his position. He said he wanted to sign with, he wanted to go elsewhere and play in a 4-3 defense, leaving the 3-4 that the Chiefs had been playing. He would have done the same thing if he had stayed. But I got a sense at the end it was time for him to leave, and he wanted to go.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly changed the dynamics, but something just felt a little off. But I was surprised when it happened a little bit. I don't think you were surprised, but I was.
No.
And it's probably been, I think, part of a feel of that locker room. I don't know if he was a drag in the locker room. He probably inspired a lot of people, but there, I feel like there's a better chemistry in there. I don't want to say it's because of one person exactly, but I think there was an overt sense of we need to sort of change the mechanics of how this room works too.
I think for Justin, it seemed like this total like nickel dime store, like armchair psychology a little bit, but Eric Berry's situation got in Justin's head a little bit. Those guys are thick as thieves, like they are really, really, really close, great friends, more than just professional teammate relationship. And the dots are there to connect that once Eric was kind of in his thing of week to week and day to day and all that stuff, that it affected Justin. I really do believe that.
Is he a Ring of Honor player?
I think he's right on the border, right? It's a good question. I think probably the 22 and a half sacks is, but I don't know.
It may come down to whoever is in charge of that decision for
Yeah.
the Chiefs and how they kind of personally
Yep.
feel about that.
Yep. It's a funny deal because he was there for a long time, and he's in good company in Chiefs history in this. But he was a really good player on some bad teams.
He was,
and they've had that before. I think he's right on the border, probably, but it's weird. He's not. I don't think there's a lot of nostalgia for Justin Houston in the way that there would be for Eric Berry if he was playing on a team that came
Right.
in, or Tony Gonzalez. That situation was a little bit messy for other reasons, but not on that level.
Chiefs went through over the offseason, they went through a series of farewells to players, one-day contract things with Jamal Charles, with Dwayne Bowe, Derek Johnson, and Charles and all of them finished their careers with other teams, but the Chiefs brought him back. I think if Justin Houston, has a few more productive years left with the Colts or whoever it ends up being, that maybe that changes the way you would accept him back as a Chief. If he comes in here and beats the Chiefs, with 4 sacks or something, has a monster game. I don't know. It's a decision that won't be made for a long time. But I suspect he'll get a nice reception when he comes back here. Why wouldn't he, right?
Yeah.
He didn't leave on terrible terms, or he didn't badmouth the organization leaving. So
One thing that I've started to think, the more that this stuff happens, is the reception depends as much on where the Chiefs are as the circumstances of why the guy left. Like right now, if you're a Chiefs fan, it's easy. Hey,
it's
all good. But when Tony Gonzalez left, that was a different deal. Those were darker times. I think that's part of it too.
Good point. Okay, as we do every week on Thursdays from our Facebook Lives at Big O Tires, we identify our players we think are going to star. We call it Where the Rubber Meets the Road, and I don't know, Vahe, it's we're never right. I mean, we misfire on this every week, so maybe just throw darts at.
I always just spin a little roulette wheel on somebody on offense. I'm going to say it's time for Demarcus Robinson to have a big game again. I
Come
think
back
maybe back under the radar after the Oakland game, after these last couple of weeks.
I didn't think he had a good game against Detroit. I know the numbers didn't bear it out, but I just thought the route running wasn't what it should have been, and I didn't think he played.
His targets versus receptions ratio was far worse than I think in the first 3 weeks he'd only not caught one of his targets.
Yeah,
I think he didn't catch 4 of them against the Lions.
Yeah. All right, Sam McDowell, what do you got?
I think the Colts' weakness on defense, it seems to be, is their rush defense. So it's kind of tricky to pick which running back because we're not sure about Damian Williams' status yet. But to me, if Damian Williams plays, I think he has a pretty big day for him.
Okay. What do you think?
Interception for Kendall Fuller.
Oh, how about that?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
Didn't you have a pick 6 or something?
I had Tyron with a pick 6 last week. I meant to say a big sack.
That's right. I'll go Pat Mahomes. We have this sort of
That is your privilege in the host seat.
and we have this unspoken.
I mean, he didn't have a touchdown last week.
I think he can bounce back.
Yeah,
Just named AFC Offensive Player of the Month this morning for September. I think he gets October off to a good start, and I do think he's going to have a big statistical game. I think there's an opportunity here to throw a few touchdown passes. Look, it was a Colts team that I thought in the preseason had an opportunity to certainly be a playoff team and maybe be one of the top three in the AFC along with New England and Kansas City. Then Andrew Luck, his retirement changes the dynamic, and Jacoby Brissett just takes him down a peg. But it's everything else is still there for the Colts.
It's a good roster.
Yep. Okay. How about Sam McDowell? I always ask you about the line because I know you're a gambling fiend. So it started at 10.5. Is it still 10.5?
Yeah, I think it's at 10. But yeah, I mean that's obviously a really large number. But what's interesting about that is most of the actual bets placed have been on the Chiefs, but as much money has been placed on the Colts as the Chiefs. So
the sharps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's always stands out to the people that really get involved in it. If there's as much actual money placed on one team, even though the majority of the bets are going the other way.
Okay. Anybody want to pick an upset here? Anybody think no? Okay. So do the Chiefs cover or not?
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually don't think they will.
Okay. Less than 10.
Yeah.
Single digit victory.
10 or less. I actually think that the Colts are going to be pretty competitive.
Okay. Melly? Cover?
I think they will. I think they're going to get in the 40s.
Ooh.
All right.
I do.
I think cover. The 35-ish.
I think so
20-ish,
too. I do too.
I don't mean the spread in the 40s. I meant the Chiefs
Right,
would
score in the 40s.
just to-
Yeah, that's really clear.
Good.
Like scoring in the 40s isn't a statement enough. They're going to win by 40. Yeah.
I think they cover as well. I just think they react to last weekend's game, and they've been 5-0 each of the last 2 years. I think they make it 5-0 again this year. Great Sunday night football, great atmosphere. When was the last time the Chiefs lost a prime time home? Was it the Broncos game?
Well, the Chargers was prime
was.
time,
That's right.
yeah.
Chargers last year.
Was that a Thursday?
I think it was a Thursday
night
game.
game,
So Mahomes has lost under the lights at Arrowhead. I don't expect that to happen this week. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Beth, thank you very much. The next time we talk to you, we'll be at Arrowhead Stadium, I don't know, midnight-ish or something, a little A-team after dark, after the Chiefs Colts game on Sunday. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you then.